What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club, where everyone has a voice, and welcome to the Social Club football event. 31 days, 31 videos. All August long, we're bringing you daily football content, from the NFL to college football and everything in between. Expect videos on Heisman frontrunners, NFL MVPs, bold predictions, hot takes, and more as we gear up for the new season. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a day of football content. We're building more than just content. We're building a community. So make sure to comment your thoughts below every video and let your voice be heard. Other than that, go ahead and pull up a chair, grab a plate, and let's talk football. All right, let's get right into it. So, talking about the NIL in college football. Now, this is an ongoing debate. I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the season. Now looking at now where we have the president potentially weighing in on this issue with the NIL in college football. I want to get your opinion on it, but I want to make sure there's some things that are clear. I'm very positive, like most people will agree that college football players should be paid. So most of this conversation is really just how you're going to work out this system and not leave it as the wild, wild west. So I guess in starting that, going to you, before we even talk about how to fix it, I just want from your opinion, what do you think is the blatant problem right now? What trends are you seeing right now in college football regarding the NIL?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is definitely the no cap on it. It's kind of the wild, wild west right now. I know the NIL has been around for a few years now, but the money that some of these guys are getting paid is crazy. And we kind of knew that would be the case once this book was opened up. But I think the biggest, and the way to compare it to, would be in the MLB right now. There's not a salary cap, so you see the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets, Cubs and stuff like that. They have access to more money, obviously, to sign bigger names, better players, and that's been a gripe in MLB for quite some time. And I think we're going to see that going forward in college football too. The Texases, the USCs, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, they have so much more money to allocate to NIL. That plus the transfer portal combined, they can kind of pick and choose their roster every year. Now, I do think there are some valuable assets to there not being a cap, where you see some smaller schools getting bigger names because of the ability of a donor, or some schools having more money than other schools. But I think the biggest problem is just no regulation on it at all whatsoever.
When we talk about a cap, like, it can just be something that's very general. Like, let's just say you can't go over 25 million or something on the team. You know, that's something that's pretty straightforward. And honestly, like you said, outside of the Power 5, really the Power 4, but the Power 5, most teams aren't even going to get 25 mil a year to get allocated towards their football team. You know, that's really the top of the top. And then there's some outliers of some very rich schools. Like, I'm sure SMU could come up with 25 mil a year, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's like common sense things. And it's like, a lot of people would be like, who cares if Ohio State spends 50 million on their team, right? Like, they're not going to win every year, you would think. It doesn't really matter. Well, the bigger issue that I didn't think about, but now that I'm starting to see, is that the smaller teams that don't have a $200 million athletic budget or whatever, what they have to do to stay in the game is they're going to have to shut down other programs that aren't making as much money, just to reallocate that money to put more into football, to get actual talent, just to stay in the ballpark. Like, if Ohio State commits $50 million, then a lower tier school, but a team that can make it like a Pittsburgh, we'll just say something like that, like a Pittsburgh, they might have to get into a position to where, okay, our budget is $100 million. In order to commit $50 million a year towards this football team, we're going to have to get rid of our gymnastics, wrestling, and tennis. We got to get rid of all of that. And then all it's going to do is just continue to degrade and degrade college as a whole, the college athletic experience as a whole, to where now it's going to get to the point where only the top schools can have everything for everyone. But everything else is a very small, very direct pool. And it's really just them struggling to stay ahead of the curve and keep up with everything that's going on in these really top schools in college football. And that alone, again, the point of this is to make the game better. It's not to make the game worse. It's not to make the game a monopoly or whatever. Like, having diversity in play, having teams that are not having a clear favorite every year is, I personally think, it's good for ratings. And you just don't want to get that situation, like you said, with baseball, where every year it's like, every year used to be Alabama versus everyone else. Then now it's going to be who paid the most for their team versus everyone else. And yeah, they just have to be careful with it. And the last thing I'll say, and I know you joked about it, so I'm going to steal your joke here. It's like, it's all fun and games until a Saudi prince comes in and decides that he's a big fan and wants to put in money. Then it's really just going to torpedo the whole thing. 50 million is something, but what if someone donates 200 million? And there's plenty of billionaires out there in the US that have gone to these schools that be like, fine, take it. I don't care. And that's like, you just don't want to get to that point, because that's just going to destroy the entire college football, really all athletics in college.
We're like getting to a slope at this point where like some of these college football players like might not even go to school. Like college football might just turn into a minor league NFL. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, going to the donation part, I swear if I see some Saudi prince with a Texas Longhorn jacket on, I know something's going up, bro. I know that they're sending care packages over there to try to get that money out of there. They ain't slick.
You kind of made a good point, and I think I'm going to touch on that for my point. Or kind of one of the biggest problems is that a lot of these schools are getting too big to where them giving out an education is like a side hustle to them. And that's, you just don't want to get to that point, because then it's like, what's the point of that college in general if their main goal isn't to give you an education to set you up? It's to make money in this money maker over here, and to keep business flowing as usual. Like, obviously you hear about endowments lately and how much these schools have in endowments and stuff, to where they're pretty much just private equity firms that do education and sports on the side. But then you bring sports up there as well, and then education is going to be your third, maybe fourth most important thing. That's a bigger problem in and of itself, because there's only so many people at the school that are playing a sport. What about everyone else? Now everyone else is going to be in terrible debt, and then going to go through a school system that is like, they don't put as much attention to it as they should. So then it's like, what is this? Like, what's the point of all this? So you don't want it to go down that slope as well. Which I think why you see that the president is now thinking of doing some type of executive order and going into capping and all that stuff. But I guess moving further into that, do you think that's enough, or do you think that there's further actions that the NCAA should take to keep this thing of college football and college sports that we love so much?
Yeah, I think it's either got to be two things. You either have to put a cap on how much an entire team can pay out. So if you want to give some 5-star quarterback 12 million of the 20 that you get, that's fine, but you might sacrifice that with other positions. Or there needs to be a cap on a per player basis. And then let's say the per player basis is 3 million or whatever that may be. If you want to pay that to 80 guys, that's your decision. So I think one of those two has to be implemented at some point. I personally think it should be the team cap, so it can kind of operate like the NFL. But yeah, something's got to happen. I mean, I think Trump putting in that executive order definitely helps get it kind of kickstarted, but I think the NCAA has to come down and say something, because it's getting ridiculous. And not to say that selfishly this does help my team in Missouri Tigers, because we do have some pretty rich and famous alumni where we're getting some recruits that otherwise we probably would not have. but I still think it's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get your Mizzou predictions a little bit later, because we'll see. I mean, they're definitely interesting for sure. But if I can add on, I thought this crazy idea as you were talking. I'm gonna throw it out there. I almost believe that the highest paid person should just be the head coach. I almost believe that that should be a rule, and the reason why I say that is because number one, power dynamic. I think that's a really untold story, and why you see a lot of these coaches essentially burning out is the power dynamic is insane. These coaches, the high turnaround in these power four schools. On top of now, you got kids that, let's say you brought in the kid and you didn't think they were going to start, like a freshman or something, then they ended up starting. Now they're coming back to the table. It's like, hey, yeah, let's talk about this money. I think I deserve a raise.
Yeah.
Either give me a raise, or I'm redshirting, I'm transferring, I'm doing whatever. So the power dynamic is completely out of bounds, to where now you gave all the control to the students and they are 100% overly taking advantage of it. And now, to be fair, we both play college ball. We know what it's like when a coach leaves mid-season, when a coach leaves unannounced, or didn't really want to tell the group that they're leaving, getting a better job, whatever, things like that. We understand that dynamic. My only difference, and why I think it's different, is that while it is not fun and you don't like that experience, at the end of the day, you come to see the production on the field. And your assistant coach leaving mid-season, or anything of that nature, your strength and conditioning coach leaving mid-season, doesn't have that big of an on-field presence in most cases, but it doesn't have that big of an on-field presence as your starting QB deciding that they're going to sit because they want more money. Like, I feel like that's a bigger consequence that you see across the board, and that's what you want to eliminate, essentially. So I don't know. I think that's interesting, but I think that's going to help. And I actually had a second point, and the second thing on why I think that's important is again, like, you're kind of getting to the point to where these college athletes are getting NFL money.
Yeah.
And when you're at that point, one, what's the point of the NFL? That kind of defeats the purpose of going on to that professional league, or at least it makes it harder to really entice people to get out, go to the draft, and move on to the NFL is one. And number two, again, is that the stated mission of what college sports is supposed to be about? To get your 18-year-old freshman QB to come to your school and give him 4 years, $50 million like he plays for the Bengals? It's that's your stated goal. And I don't think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's like a forced economics, only because there's so much competition. But the numbers that are coming out at this point are just completely out of bounds to a bunch of players that have not earned it on field production to get that type of money. And I don't see the long-term benefit of that. I think that degrades college sports, and then it's going to degrade the NFL in terms of the quality of people that are coming in there, what their mindset is. I mean, even now, a lot of these kids have never been in a full system for a full year. Like, they don't know a true pro style offense. They don't know a spread offense. They just bounce around from here to here, learning different plays here and that. And you kind of seeing that on the field now, to where now a lot of these QBs aren't even making audibles anymore. Yeah. So I'm not an old man shouting from the front porch saying that I hate younger people making money. It is what it is. But there is a reason why you don't give your 10-year-old $1 million, right?
Yeah.
I think in a degree it can be the same thing with college football, is that you make your money. That's perfectly fine. But once you give them such an extreme amount of money, it does more harm than good for them at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that you brought up the power aspect of it. I honestly never even thought about that. Like, some of these QBs are making more than their head coach. Like, that's so insane. Like, I can just imagine a coach pissing a QB off and him calling him broke. Like, that's so crazy.
And the funny thing is like, some people will probably still have respect for the head coach, but you already know it's the assistants.
Oh
them
yeah.
assistants be so out of pocket. So can you imagine the assistant trying to get you right, bro? I
Yeah.
know, especially at like a Texas or Ohio State. I know them assistants are getting bitched so hard by the players. Like
Bro,
it's bad. Like I'd be so mad.
imagine you're in an argument with your position coach and then you leave practice and he gets in a Toyota Camry and you're getting in a brand new BMW, like, or an Audi A5 or something. Like, that's so crazy, bro. He's going back to his free apartment the school gives him,
Yeah,
and
you're
you're going
right.
back to like a luxury high rise in downtown Dallas because you play for SMU.
You guys, I would love to hear everyone's opinion on that because there's so many different angles you can go about this when you're talking about money in college football and really collegiate sports in general. And that's the funny thing. It's like we only talk about college football, but you got to think about all the other sports too and what they're getting paid and how all that's working out too. So let your thoughts be known because I'm very curious. You know, what do you think we need to do to fix the NIL, or do you think it's perfectly fine and we're just a bunch of haters and we're just mad because we're broke and we didn't go to the University of Texas? Which
Hey, if I didn't hurt my knee,
I get it, I understand. I wish I had a do over, but other than that, guys, you know, definitely subscribe to the channel, follow us and everything, and of course keep your notifications on because we are posting every single day for the entire month of August. But other than that, appreciate you guys and we'll see you in the next one.